All right, so on the previous video, we're on section 15.3. We had a loan on our calculators. Remember, it was, I'm getting back to it, this loan, okay? So you need to make sure you still have that on your calculator so I can show you the counting method. And I said, please leave your calculator like it is. And then I'm going to show you this counting method. And then we will, the shortcut for counting, we will be using this at some other times too. So what happens is if you scroll to either P1 or P2, you should have 1 and 3 on there because that's the last thing we did. If you're on P2 and you see the 3 and you push compute, then it's going to jump to 6. And if you go back to your P1, I'm going to do this, then it's going to say 4. Because it was on 1 to 3, so then it jumps from 3 to 4 and then 4 to 6. So it's going to keep the same distance between your payments. So you had a distance of 3, it's going to do the same thing. If you push compute again, then it will say 7 to 9, and you can scroll to look at that. Okay, so be sure to do this so that you can kind of see what's happening. And you can do this continually. You know, it just, it's going to keep the same length of time between your first and last payments, whatever that happened to be. And this is handy if we're looking at the loan out to say year 9 or something. Then we wouldn't want to have to try to figure that out. We can use our calculator to take shortcuts. Okay, we'll come back to that at some point. Now, remember we have this loan, okay? And it says, what is the total amount of interest paid? Well, this is the old method. So the old method, which isn't quite as nice as the new method, the old method said we have to take our payment amount and multiply it by the number of years and by 12 payments per year to get the total amount we paid for this loan, which would be $207,662.40. And then remember, we subtract the amount we borrowed, which was $109,000. And this is our interest, $98,662.40. So we almost doubled the loan by paying all this interest. So that's the amount of interest the old way, okay? With our new way, new method, we're going to use our amortization keys. And so what you need to do is you should already have a 1 on your P1 screen. And now I want you to have on your P2 screen the number 360, because this loan is 360 payments. If we go from payment 1 to payment 360, then it shows us the total amount of the loan, or the total amount of interest. Now you have to wait a second. There will be a little bit of a pause on this because it's, you know, thinking basically. And so with our old method, we came up with this amount of interest, $98,662.40. With our new method, so this is the one you should be reading from your calculator screen. It would be the amount of interest, so you should be on the one that says INT. It says $98,660.02. Now, if you look at your balance, it's going to say that you either have a negative or a positive balance either way on this, since our old interest was a little bit more. It doesn't come out perfect because on the last payment there can be some variance on what you actually pay, and that's what happens here. But if I'm asking you for the interest and we're using amortization keys, then you get to do this the new way, which is to just let your calculator do find the interest for you. Okay. So we're going to put in a new mortgage on this, and I want you to Just get all your numbers in there, right? And you can clear out your TVM keys now. So do second FV, and that clears your TVM keys. And then I want you to put in this new loan, right, and get that in. So we're going to have a 30-year loan. So 30 times 12, which is going to be 360 payments, right? And then we take our interest rate of 5.03 divided by 12. Make sure you push equals. Leave that on your screen, right? You have to know to do that. And then push your IY key. Our present value is our loan amount of $134,500. And then you're going to put that in present value. Our future value is 0. I always like to put 0 in just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to compute our payment. All right, so compute payment. And our payment this time is $724.49. I'm going to put a circle around that so we remember our payment amount. Okay, so now as long as your calculator matches this, right, it says that the payment's $724.49, then you're ready for the next question. Okay, this one says, what is the remaining balance after a year's worth of payments? Okay, so if we're looking at a year's worth of payments, then that means we're going to put in payment 1, our beginning payment, through payment 12. We're looking at 12 payments. Now, we don't really need to list these two categories, and a lot of times whenever I'm filling out the charts, I may just have that empty. And then we're looking at our balance. And so this is the one that we're scrolling to, okay? And so when you find it, you're going to have a balance of $132,526.37. Now, remember, this mortgage started at $134,500, and now we're down to $132,526. And so remember to scroll to find this. I am going to circle this amount. Okay, that's the one we were looking for. With the X's there, you can kind of tell that that's what we were looking for. Okay, next, what is the interest paid on the first 17 payments? So this time we're just looking for interest, so we're not going to find the balance or the principal. Let's just put lines there. That makes it a little bit easier. The interest on the first 17 payments, so that's going to be, you can pause this if you're trying to figure this out yourself. Payment 1 to payment 17. And then you're going to scroll to interest, and it is $9,490.68. And we just read that right from our calculator. It's a very, very handy little key or program, this amortization thing. Okay, so that's the amount of interest for 17 payments. Find the principal paid for just payment 103. Now, I'm hoping that you remember, how do we figure out just payment 103? And we're only looking for the principal. Yeah, how much principal was paid for that payment? Well, if we're just looking at payment 103, then we put 103 for P1 and P2. So beginning and ending payment are the same. And then we're going to scroll to our principal, and we find that it is $246.23. Right? That is our amount of principal. Okay, and then the next one says, what is the total amount of interest paid for the 30-year loan? So we did this earlier, right? The interest for the entire loan. And on this one, we're going to go ahead and list out everything so we can talk about that number that's given that's a little bit different sometimes if we figured this out the long way. Well, we're looking at the entire loan. So we're going to look at payment 1 through payment 360. It shows a balance of $2.54, and our principal amount is $134,497.46. Now, if you took that not as a negative, as a positive number and added 254, that would equal our beginning loan. And then our interest is listed as $126,318.94. And that's actually what I was asking you for, was the amount of the interest. Right, we went ahead and wrote down the rest. I just wanted to kind of explain to you here what was happening on the balance and principal, and the reason that it's not quite the same if we multiply the payments and figure out ourselves what it might be, that we're just a little bit different. That's because it's still showing a balance of $254, which in reality you would go ahead and pay on with your last payment. So that would make the difference there. Okay. Now, let's see. When we're talking about a plain year versus... Okay, I think this is a good place to stop the video again. I'm hoping I can finish on the next video, but trying to explain this is going to take too much time for this one. All right, so on the next video, we'll talk about plain year versus calendar year.